Oh, the computer it freezes when I do it.
Oh, zoom back in. Whoa, what up, gamers? Welcome to the Coop and Goose. We are back with another banger of an episode. On today's episode, we got The Beacon House. It came out 9 years ago, and from what I kind of skimmed through, it's about, I think, a doctor evaluating a murderer who did a horrible murder, and they're trying to figure him out, I guess. I don't know. What we're gonna try something new as well. We have a narrator today to take care of all the big paragraphs,
Smart
but
words, because we're
yeah.
big stupid idiots. And new camera for me, better quality. The production's going up.
Production's going up. Keep subscribing.
The Beacon House Massacre, a crime too horrible for words. So horrible, in fact, that it fled the front pages as soon as the finer details began to trickle into the public sphere. Imagine how terrible a crime must be before the pack of vultures that dare call themselves the press in our day and age will quietly allow the sensational details of a socialite scandal to slip through their grasp. An act of mass murder so horrible that without fail, every first responder to the crime scene had ever left the emergency services entirely or been placed on leave. 38 people, one New Year's Eve celebration, one survivor, one killer. One killer who, in a dervish blood and viscera, had stabbed and slashed and bludgeoned and burned his way through a room full of guests and catering staff. One killer found in the garden of his expensive Blue Mountains property with a steak knife, stabbed, hammered deep into his forehead. Self-inflicted. All the papers would dare mention was madness and carnage. Photos were hard enough to come by, but I had heard it said that the editor of the Sydney Morning Herald had declined to furnish his front page with the one photograph of the Beacon House interior that his photographer had managed to capture. Instead, they played the human angle, a contrast to the savagery of the man who had brought so much misery into the world. Photos of the victims and their grieving families. Photos of the alleged killer lying unconscious in a hospital bed, his face half hidden by a thick layer of bandages. Malachi Durant had once been the darling of the Sydney architectural scene. Heralded as the next Frank Lloyd Wright, praised by his contemporaries of his command of flow, space, and light. I must admit, though, as a layperson, I had little understanding of what those terms meant in terms of architecture. I had been assigned by the state's attorney as a psychiatric expert to assess Malachi Durant's mental state before the trial. Though the prosecutor did not believe the insanity defense Malachi's lawyers had put forward, for me there was a little doubt. Sane men did not butcher their friends and family on special occasions, and certainly not in the middle of the holiday season. The scar on Malachi Durant's forehead was minuscule in comparison to the injury, just to the right of center and only an inch above his eyebrow. His right eye, brown, glassy, and unfocused, followed lazily behind the left one, blue as he focused on my entry into my office on Wednesday morning. From the doctor's report, I knew that in his madness, he had jammed the steak knife deep into his skull and pounded it through the bone into his forebrain by bashing his head against a wall. Then, somehow still conscious, he had wriggled the blade to and fro until his right temporal lobe was nothing more than a mess of blood and fatty tissue.
That's wild.
That's kind of rough. Starting off the bat, gory as shit.
Yeah. Well, when one of the first beginning words is viscera, it kind of sets you up. Also, I've been doing some thinking. I looked ahead. The doctor's name is Hunter. So I want you to do the doctor and put like a southern accent on it, because Hunter, southern, and then I'll be the killer, and I'll be all like, yeah.
You have to do that. That has to be you.
I killed him. It was me. I killed him.
No more shoes lied to me.
I rubbed the lamp and a genie came out.
All right, here we go. So I'm Hunter. I'm the. What is it? What is he
You're
called
the doctor.
exactly?
Dr. Raymond Hunter.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet, though.
Well, what is he? He's a.
He's like a psychiatric doctor.
Sidetrack. Yeah,
Psychiatric.
fucking A.
Sidetrack, baby.
He's a sidetrack doctor.
He's a sidetrack doctor.
Star Trek doctor.
He's the doctor of sidetracked
Star
conversation.
Trek.
All right, where are we at? Okay.
I sat down opposite Malachi Durant, mass murderer.
Good morning.
That's exactly what I was hoping for.
A slight movement on his left eyelid, half hidden under a curtain of limp, once curly black hair, was all the sign Malachi gave that he had understood me.
My name is Dr. Raymond Hunter, and
Raymond.
Raymond.
my name is Dr. Raymond Hunter, and
I paused. I'd given this speech 2 dozens and dozens of patients, but the words felt stale in my mouth. The look in Malachi Durant's good eye demanded more than usual fare. I dipped momentarily into honesty.
I'm here to assess your mental state before your trial, Mr. Durant.
Before returning to my usual speech,
I'd also like to get to know you a little bit better.
Take me out on a date first.
Malachi Durant gave a faint smile. Regret and sadness played across his expression as he watched me sit. I took my time, carefully considering tactics. Durant had been induced into a coma after the massacre, one which lasted for 2 months, about 6 weeks longer than it should have according to the doctors. And when he woke, he had just screamed for days in spite of all attempts to both sedate and reason with him. I did not want to choose the wrong words and push him back into the darkness that he had somehow emerged from. I needed to get a feel for it, to understand its contours before I started taking any steps into unfamiliar terrain.
Where would you like to start?
I asked, giving him control.
The muse lied to me.
He said simply.
Your muse?
I asked. Malachi shook his head, looking out the window. A muse? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. A muse. The muse of the house. She was fake.
I frowned.
You didn't like the house?
Malachi shook his head again, refusing to look at me.
No, the house was beautiful, but it was
He swallowed hard, tears beginning to form.
corrupt.
I paused and took a deep breath. No! Oh, okay. Part of me wanted to rush onward with more questions, but I could see that Malachi was fragile enough as it was. I would temper my curiosity and take small steps for his sake.
She lied to me.
He turned to look at me. His right eye was twitching as he fought back the tears.
Oh. How can you angel lie?
Angel?
How can an angel lie?
He sobbed and slumped forward in his chair. It was a genuine question, a plea for help from a man lost in a storm-tossed sea. I started to recognize bits and pieces of the
I've
terrain.
had my storm tossed before.
I started to recognize bits and pieces of the terrain in which Malachi Durant was lost. I nodded slowly and then spoke.
Malachi, I can see that you're quite upset, and I want to do everything I can to help you, but I need you to talk to me.
But
Malachi looked at me and took a deep breath, nodding slowly. I continued.
We won't open any doors you don't want to. We won't go down any paths you don't want to. But I may need to ask you questions from time to time. But just remember, you decided what you want to answer. You're in control of how you get home. I'm just here to get you there.
there. Malachi Durant smiled at me, and so help me God, I liked him. Ooh.
Oh.
Is this a love story?
There was a kindness in those eyes, an innocence that belied the horrors that he had inflicted upon his fellow man.
Don't want to open the wrong door.
He laughed just once, bitterly.
Ah.
Can you tell me about your... Is that masseuse?
Muses.
What is muses?
Can you tell me about your masseuse? Yes, she does a great job.
Can you tell me about your mooses?
Mooses.
You were not keeping that in.
Yes, we're keeping that one.
I pluralized my question, taking an educated guess. Malachi nodded, straightening up.
I just thought I had a gift for understanding spaces, you know.
He smiled that regretful smile again.
I just called them muses because that's what creative people do, right?
Another wave of pain broke across Malachi's face.
But the house. I'm losing the voice. That was more than the usual creative inspiration, you know. It was...
He shuddered.
Doc?
I nodded.
What is it?
What if you were doing something every day that filled you with joy? And what if you woke up one day to discover you'd been working for a nightmare?
He looked at me, his lower jaw trembling.
The angel?
I asked.
Did she make you do something bad?
Malachi shrugged.
I don't think it was bad. I didn't think it was bad at the time.
I nodded sagely, recognition dawning.
Did she ask you to hurt your friends?
Malachi recoiled from me as though I had struck him, curling up into a ball on the chair opposite me.
No,
He snapped flatly.
it was the house.
He wailed.
I built her a cage and she made me watch her watch her eat them from the inside.
Malachi began rocking back and forth.
They can't fool me again. Can't use me anymore.
He whispered to himself, now staring blankly.
Okay. I won't do it. I won't do it. I won't do it.
Malachi gripped his knees tighter, holding himself while some inner tension wound him up tighter and tighter.
I can't do it. I'm not flexible.
Malachi?
I asked, my voice soft.
She ate them. Oh,
He
sorry.
screamed-
Let me restart that.
Screamed.
She ate them.
He screamed at me. Leaping from his chair to the coffee table, he landed precariously at its edge, and the table toppled out from under him as he leaned into me, face to face. It is a love story. I pushed myself away from his sudden advance, and we both fell, screaming. Myself calling for security and Malachi screaming over and over.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Malachi gets so close to his face. Are you wanting to toss my seas?
Malachi, we can't. We just can't.
I'll toss your seas. Great.
All right, so that was an interesting first encounter. I'm guessing because there's a line there, so like it pauses. I bet.
Yeah, like a little break. Yeah.
So I'm guessing that people came in and seduced him again, and then
Sedated?
Seduced him. Ooh. They were tossing his seas.
Tossed in a salad.
what do you think so far? I think it's interesting the whole she ate them.
Yeah, immediately it's like a cannibal story. So yeah, that's at least what my guess would be.
From what it sounded like a demon, because it was an angel.
Like Monster House, guys.
Jesus.
Oh yeah. Fuck. Did you know there's an actor that's in those movies that I didn't even know he was in those fucking movies? God damn. Now I gotta look at the cast. Anyway, continue your thought.
No, it sounds like there's a demon that made him do something, and the knife into his head was him trying to get her out of his head.
True, yeah, or just wanting to like kill himself so that way he didn't have to be like
True.
part of it anymore.
That's also true. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it's a demon. I'm sure you're gonna say it's a snake. In a
Yeah, I would
skin
say
suit.
it's probably 400 snakes in a skin suit.
Heck.
Oh, well, Steve Buscemi is the old man.
Who's that?
Steve Buscemi from the Adam Sandler movies, and also Spy Kids.
Was he the scientist in the Spy Kids movie?
Yes. Mhm.
Oh, okay. I know exactly what you're
Yeah.
talking about now. Right. All right. Well, I guess we'll hop back into this love story.
Yeah.
There we go.
I pulled up the tab on the can of Coke, my hand still shaking, and put it to my lips. Adrenaline or not, I could. Pause. Adrenaline or not, I could have really done with something stronger in that moment. I closed my eyes, breathing deep and counting my breaths one at a time. When I reached 10, I finally felt a little more settled. I turned to the pile of reports and photographs on my desk. It was the stuff of nightmares, to be sure, but I steeled myself as I dug through the medical examiner's reports, looking for something that tracked with Malachi's rantings. Eating them, he had said, from the inside. I spent more time on the text of the reports than on the photographs. I may have had years of medical training behind me, but the pictures of the massacre truly were of another nature entirely. Nowhere in the reports did I read anything about bite marks specifically, but there were a handful of details that struck me as odd. One report about an older gentleman mentioned his dermis and superior vena cava ruptured as though by sharp implement. Puckering on surface suggests exit wound, no corresponding entry on back. Possible serrated blade would require exceptional force. I thought this part was odd enough in and of itself, but the "me" had scrawled in later. No tool marks found on ribs under wound site. Not so strange, I thought, if the blade had been pushed in horizontally. That wasn't the only odd note in the pile of autopsy reports. The next report related details of a fatal head injury. Wound is approximately 84 millimeters long and 3 millimeters wide. Lack of bone fragments around wound site suggests rotary cutting tool. Another note had been scrawled in between the lines, how the hell did he get them to stay still for all this carnage? And then continued, but no bone dust found around wound site. Did he clean it? I frowned, turning to the next report. Radius and ulna appear to have been removed with surgical precision before being stabbed into the ocular cavities of Miss Denning. See Report 17 on this case file. Single cut from elbow to wrist with transverse cuts perpendicular to first. Wounding indicates extreme precision. Tool marks on bone suggest single cut with exceptionally sharp blade. Bruising and vascular constriction suggest pre-mortem injury. As noted in Report 17, bones must have been cleaned prior to subsequent use. Excuse me. I thumbed through the pile to the report.
Clear your throat.
Reading a lot makes your throat dry.
Let's say, do you need a drink?
I have water. Thank you. ASMR. Okay. I thumbed through the pile on the report on Miss Denning. Both femurs shattered by blunt force trauma. Bruising around fracture sites indicate pointed impact with similar radius to adult male fist. Someone had added their own footnote this time in red pen. Impossible. Before the report continued, lack of injury to Mr. Durant's hands precludes this explanation. COD, ocular, and cranial trauma due to wounding with forearm bones of Mr. Jackson. Absence of blood and tissue on bone exterior suggests cleaning with unknown agents prior to use. I shook my head. I can understand the state's attorney's reluctance to accept insanity as a defense. Certainly Malachi Durant was crazy, but still coherent enough to perform a surgical excision and then clean the bones in a manner that left no traces. That did not at all look like the man who had been in my office but an hour beforehand. My mouth compressed to a thin line. I began to feel like I was being played for a fool.
They played us like a damn fiddle.
What do you think so far from hearing the police reports on how they're looking at it? It's starting to sound more paranormal, to be honest.
I wouldn't say I'm not really getting paranormal. I think
Or
I'm
like
just getting like,
Dahmer.
yeah, very thought out. It's very, it's definitely thought out. Like, and then it's like it talks about like how would they survive these like tortures while they were still alive. I don't think they were, or they were seduced or sedated, as the real word
Probably
is.
that.
People
Yeah.
would say that they would be seduced.
Yeah, they were
Uh, so I don't know. It's definitely interesting.
definitely. All right, let's head back into the next time jump.
I took the afternoon off and drove out to the Blue Mountains, the setting for Malachi's first triumph as well as his downfall. The new wing of the Lithgow Art Gallery was 2 stories of gracefully curving brushed steel and glass, but more than its gentle shape, the gallery captured the afternoon sunlight and seemed to almost hold it, growing brighter even as the day finally gave way to night. The air inside seemed almost to tingle, and pillars of liquid gold would slide across the floor, their slow march highlighting one exhibit after another. Somehow, Durant's genius had bent even sunlight to his will, causing the march of sunbeams to move at slightly different rates.
Oh, is this me?
Wait, no, this is someone else. This is a woman.
Oh, okay.
This is a woman.
Do you want to be the woman?
Admiring.
Do it.
Give me a second. Admiring the Durant tour, are you?
I turned to the woman beside me. She was short and solidly built, her thick glasses catching bits and pieces of sunlight as she watched me watching the procession of sunbeams across the tiled floor.
Durant tour?
I raised an eyebrow.
Sorry. It's part of the design of the building.
She raised her arm, pointing to the slanting windows at the building's corner. I took note of the name tag pinned to her lapel. Sheila Green. Between her long, almost white hair, the black clothes and crocheted shawl, and the thick silver necklace about her shoulders, she gave off the vibe of a kindly witch. I wondered if she had a cottage somewhere. I looked from the Sheila to the windows and back again.
To the wall.
How?
Sheila smiled again.
Oh, I lost it. Different materials in each pane. Some glass, some Lexan, all different thicknesses. And a few others use nitrogen and argon, trapped between layers.
Yeah, between them layers. High school physics rising up from the depths of my memory.
Refractive indexes.
Indices.
Sheila corrected me reflectively. I craned my head, staring up at the windows, marveling at the secrets hidden in their apparent uniformity.
I don't know who's saying that. Oh, this is him. Okay. You're saying ingenious.
No, I'm looking for it.
It's right. It's right there.
Ingenious.
It was a scene that stirred something that was both primal but also peaceful within me. For just a moment, I had the sense that I was viewing a mountain from the inside, all power and force trapped in state. The potential of stone waiting to be released, exploding into sculpture.
Oh God.
Makes
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Sheila's voice was like a bucket of ice water to my ravine, but she had recognized the look on my face.
Makes you feel.
I corrected for her.
Do you got a lot of artists coming here for the atmosphere?
Sheila nodded, casting her gaze of the collection of sculptures on the pedestals beneath the sunbeams.
More than for the exhibits, actually.
She regarded me with her gaze once more.
But you're not an artist.
I nodded sadly, suddenly regretful of the life choices that had taken me out of the path of Durant's sunbeams.
I suppose not.
I turned to her.
But look at this. It makes me want to create something.
Sheila smiled.
You're not the only one. We're actually running classes on Saturdays.
She tilted her head at me, not sure what to make of the logical man, so obviously out of place here. I laughed a little nervously.
Oh no, I'm definitely not an artist.
It took me a minute.
Sheila shrugged.
But you can still feel it.
It?
The energy of space here.
I stopped cold. I was a logical man. I believed and trusted in the evidence of my senses. I was grounded and rational. I believed in Occam's razor and the logic and order of the universe.
Ooh, Occam's razor.
But had I not been moved to the edge of the But I had not been moved to the edge of a religious experience, but a minute beforehand by the poetry and the refractive indices of various materials.
Is that what it is?
Sheila chuckled warmly.
We see more than we really understand. But we still want to find the words for it. We use what we're familiar with, I suppose.
She glanced over her shoulder at the gallery beyond. I opened my mouth, but only the sound of my breathing came out. Sheila Green was using my own material on me now. Energy and flow, just nebulous, ill-defined terms for whatever it was about the geometry and aesthetics of the space that reacted with the human mind. Like the way many people can sense a door frame that isn't quite all right angles, or a picture frame on a wall that isn't quite square.
Mr. Durant certainly had a genius.
Sheila nodded.
As the saying goes, genius and madness are two sides of the same coin.
I frowned.
She's definitely like a part of the killing. 100%.
It's a good thought process.
That line right there made it kind of like to where if I was a detective, I'd be like, "Bitch, did you kill
All
someone?"
right, all right.
Interesting phrasing there. Okay. You think he's crazy?
Sheila shook her head.
No.
So what's Beacon House?
A mistake.
Sheila said, her words turning dark.
I don't know which one.
I'd
Oh,
hardly.
yeah.
Is it me? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's you.
I'd hardly call a massacre a mistake.
Sheila shook her head.
Not the massacre, the house.
What do you mean?
Have you seen it?
I shook my head.
I haven't.
Sheila turned towards the stairs.
Wait here.
She began walking away.
What for?
I called after her.
You'll see.
Yo.
She's gonna kill him.
Yep. I stared after the gallery's curator long after she had passed out of sight. Suddenly I had a sense of something behind me. I turned to see the light through the panes had been stretched and was slowing, changing color. No, I was seeing flooding lights angled down through the windows of the roof's edge, emulating the sunbeams that had now started to touch the gallery's far wall. The other people in the room seemed to sense something as well. A man, maybe in his 30s, immediately turned for the exit, while a girl in her late teens passed through a beam at the gallery's far end and recoiled as though it had burned her. I could feel it, too. The air in the room had taken a sinister turn, and even suffused?
Sufficed? Right?
That's not how you spell sufficed.
I don't actually know where we are, so.
I would say suffused.
Okay. And even suffused with the light, the room seemed to be That is not how you spell hemorrhaging, but okay. Seemed to be hemorrhaging at the same time, growing more and more dark with each passing second. I felt my heart rate rise and... You moved it when I was reading it. I felt my heart rate rise in response to some unknown threat, and just as suddenly the effect wore off, the lights cutting out. I turned towards the stairs, starting out after Sheila Green, curator. I was halfway down the curving staircase when she stepped out of a door marked staff only. She gave me a knowing look as she walked towards me.
What was that?
I don't know, but we call it the anti-theft system because nobody wants to be in the building when it's on.
Again, I found myself lost for words.
Oh, this is me. Mr. Durant's genius isn't perfect,
Sheila said.
as you can see.
And Beacon House?
I got the sense that Sheila believed that it wasn't madness.
Is the other side of the coin.
I nodded, turning to leave.
Thank you for your tour.
I said. I got 3 steps away before Sheila's question stopped me in my tracks.
Do you wonder why none of them fought him? Why one man was never overpowered by 38 others?
I stopped a moment.
I'd assumed it was drugs.
Did you test for that?
Sheila asked. She'd seen through me. I may not have been with the police, but I was investigating. That was true enough. Even if I had the pile of autopsy reports in my office, I had never seen anything about tox screens. But then I hadn't been looking for the information, had I?
I'll look into it.
I said.
It's Goose from the Coop and Goose podcast.
I'm cool.
I just want to let you know that if you go down to scissor.com, you can buy some sick ass merch. You can buy some sick ass, wait for it, some sick ass merch. Hit the subscribe button.
Subscribe today so you don't miss
Subscribe.
any spooky.
Flow and space. They were the keys to understanding Malachi Durant's madness. Whatever it was in the gallery that produced that unsettling feeling when the floodlights had been turned on was bound to have been present at Beacon House. Sheila, the gallery curator, had hinted as much. Malachi had been keen understanding of something visceral when it came to aesthetics, and perhaps that visceral understanding had, in the right light, pushed his genius over the edge into madness. Malachi Durant was a lot more subdued that morning, more guarded. He sat almost sideways on the couch, staring at the wall.
Good morning, Malachi.
He did not respond, but his right eye twitched slightly in my direction.
I went to the Lithgrow Art Gallery yesterday.
I offered. Again, Malachi was silent.
What is it, psychics?
You know the sunbeams?
Oh, jeez. Where is that at? Oh. You know? The sunbeams? Oh, it's still me. Okay. They call it the Durant Tour. I've never seen anything like it before.
I waited. Malachi was breathing harder now. He hugged his knees to his chest.
It was so simple.
He said, barely a whisper.
Psychics?
Physics.
Physics?
I said. Malachi nodded.
But the people never think about it enough, you know? So they look up, and it all looks the same. They think magic.
I nodded slowly.
It makes the world a little bit more fantastic.
Yeah.
Malachi began to uncoil a little.
Tell me about your floodlights.
I asked.
On the gallery,
Malachi shrugged,
I was improving the...
improvising.
Oh, wait, is it not? Yeah. I was improvising the...
He paused, looking at me, nerves making his right eye twitch.
Muse said no, but I thought I could make it work.
Tell me about the gallery, Muse, Malachi. How did it speak to you?
Do you think it's important?
I nodded.
I do. I need to know as much as I can about your muses.
Malachi frowned.
They're not mine. They just are. Fuck. The feel of the place, you know.
Okay, I can accept that.
Malachi leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, staring into space, remembering.
The original gallery building was the monstrous concrete thing that tried to look avant-garde, but it was basically a concrete box. There's definitely a logic and order to the insides, but the energy can't get around the space.
So the muses asked you to fix it?
Malachi smiled at me.
As best I could, it showed me how. The gallery didn't want to move the car park, but the extension had to go on the northern side. They didn't want to render the old front wall, but the inside, old front wall on the inside either, or cut the doorways into the old wing. But the flow of the new thing had to be able to pass through the old box.
I raised an eyebrow.
Like an eddy current in a river bend?
Malachi sat upright, his eyes sparkling.
Exactly. You get it right.
I swung the mic at him, and it was my turn. I wrinkled my nose.
Not really. I understand what you did, but I don't really understand how or why it works.
Malachi shrugged.
Same design wouldn't have worked in a different spot, even on the other side of the road.
I frowned.
Why?
Landscape.
Malachi said as if that held all the clues.
People think of it like an art, but there's a precision to it too. The flow of the other side of the road is all different. Different buildings, different lighting. It's subtle, but even the difference of a few meters can throw the whole effect out. You get the picture, but it's fuzzy.
You make it sound like the gallery is some kind of receiver.
I chuckled softly. At the thought, but the sudden intensity of Malachi's stare made me stop.
Now you know the truth.
He said.
Beacon House?
He nodded.
There are actually 3 levels to the house. The middle calls to the upper until you open the doorway to the lower level, and that's how she got loose.
3 levels? I thought the house only had 2. Did you put a basement in or something?
Malachi smiled at me as though we were regarding a child.
The office next to the master bedroom. Open the door from the master in-suite into the hall, and then turn on the light to the office closet. You'll see it.
A sudden thought occurred to me.
Malachi, did you build a secret room in the Beacon House? Was there something in it?
Malachi's smile didn't become any less paternal.
I guess I did, and there still is.
I licked my lips.
What was it?
Malachi sighed.
You'll find out, Doc.
But where?
Are we done now?
Malachi interrupted me, standing up.
I'm hungry.
Interesting. So there's a hidden room. I think Malachi knows exactly what he's doing,
Yeah.
and he's playing us.
Mike.
I think Malachi knows exactly what he's doing, and he's playing us.
Yeah, I still don't entirely understand what's going on. Like, I know, like it's the back and forth is like it's like the jumping between scenes. It's kind of throwing me off.
Yeah.
And it seems like most of the focus is on the like infrastructure of the house. So
Yeah.
it's like the murders aren't being really focused upon, and I'm starting to like disassociate that there were murders to begin with.
Yeah, because
So it's weird.
yeah, it went from like because we got his art gallery, which
Mhm.
I guess I didn't pay attention enough because I didn't know this man had an art gallery.
That's what the whole building was.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
No, it's something to do with the lights now. Like where it makes everyone feel scared. I wonder if it's like a paralyzing thing.
Yeah, it's very much like a psychological
Sheila's,
manipulation kind of deal.
Yeah, I think
What?
Sheila's a witch.
Yeah, it does sound very witchcrafty.
Yeah, if anything, I bet if you go in the secret room,
It was a sacrifice.
there could be a sacrifice. Or
Yeah.
you go into the secret room, then you hit that switch to where it paralyzes everybody, and that room protects you. Maybe
Okay.
I don't know. Pretty.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, it would stop you from getting affected by it. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point.
All right. Well, let's
Good
just
theory.
Okay, now
continue.
there's an officer.
Oh, you're an officer now.
Oh,
Gotta do a different
okay.
voice.
I'm ready. Wait, hold on. I want to do like a Joe Swanson. James Fenwick.
Yes, you have to do
But
that.
I know I'm gonna fuck it up. I'm gonna
Nope,
fuck it
nope,
up
you
like
have to do it
halfway
now.
through. That's fine. I'll stick to it, but I'll fuck it up.
I called to the Oh, are we ready? Okay.
Yep.
I called to the prosecutor and got permission to visit Beacon House. I was met at the front gate of the property by a uniformed officer in his early 40s. He shook my hand.
James Fenwick.
He he said, fishing a set of keys to the house from a pocket and pressed the remote for the gate. I walked in, Officer Fenwick keeping strides with me.
Have you been inside before, Doc?
I shook my head.
I'm supposed to be.
Ah,
I'm supposed to be assessing Mr. Durant for trial, but he keeps shutting down, making me jump through hoops.
do you think he's crazy?
Fenwick was starting to huff and puff his way up the hill, struggling to keep pace with me.
I don't know what to think. On the one hand, he's emotionally unstable, deathly afraid of this place, and keeps rambling about being betrayed by angels.
I said, looking at the large building ahead of us. The house was broad and low, with a weatherboard exterior. Warm yellow paint on the exterior evoked the memory of sunlight, and the brilliant white trim of the windows gave another sense of light to the space. Nope, this is him.
Oh, and on the other,
I sighed.
lost the voice.
On the other hand, he took apart 38 people with a precisions that belies insanity and the bloodlust that absolutely screams psychosis. Psychosis.
Psychosis.
God damn it.
Fenwick nodded.
You're lucky they've cleaned this. They've cleaned the place up. They got most of the blood, but they still had to peel up the floor. I'm losing the fucking voice. To get all of Maria Edgeworth. Edgeworth? Oh my god. And one of the caterers.
I stopped.
Peel up the floor.
Officer Fenwick nodded again.
Burned them into it. Fuck knows how. Kind of think like they were flash fried, but only on one side. And then melted into the floor, right down to the slab.
He stepped onto the porch and thrust the key into the lock with a single graceful movement before twisting the key and opening the door. Why is this so sexual?
Yes.
Why does
Yes.
it become 50 Shades
A
of
very
fucking
sexually
gray?
frustrated doctor.
He thrust into the key slot and then turned it.
After you, Doc. Wink.
I stepped into the house and was immediately struck by the space inside. It was the strangest house I had ever seen, let alone been inside. Ahead of me was a small three-sided vestibule opened up into a seven-divided room, just like the outside of the house, large enough to host a small concert. Several doorways led off to the sides, and even with the lights off, the place was bright. Up above the ceiling gave way to rooms which overlooked the internal space, and then soared on upwards to a domed vault dotted with round windows seemingly at random before ending in sheets of glass at the very top. The very peak had to be 4 stories above me now. I whistled.
Yep. Strange place.
Officer Fenwick nodded at the strange roof.
Stranger still.
That was pretty good. He said, gesturing to the full-length sliding glass doors taking up 2 sides of the ground floor.
Is this me or... Why the hell nobody broke out of the carnage? Wouldn't have taken much, even with a double glaze?
I nodded, remembering
That
Sheila
was
Green.
supposed to be me.
I think it was supposed to be him,
Do you
yeah.
want to do
Yeah,
it?
that's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right.
I nodded, remembering Sheila Green's question from the day before. If everyone had been drugged, why hadn't me done a talk screen? I passed by gaze over the floor. Veins of fine black imperfection flowed steadily through polished white marble. Despite several missing pieces, there was a clear pattern in which the pieces had been laid, and the veins in the marble spiraled outward from a central point, forming 7 petals which overlapped each other. The effect was much more gaudy than the feeling of the gallery, but still no less impressive. The same color scheme from inside repeated, gave the place an outdoor feel, but one which still had managed to banish the winter chill beyond those gigantic sliding doors.
Is there a basement? Do you know?
I turned to Officer Fenwick to see him watching me.
Nope. Don't think you could put anything underneath this place. Not without it falling over.
Can you show me the master bedroom? Ooh.
Ooh. Fenwick pointed to the door to my left.
Middle door leads upstairs. Master bedroom is behind where you come up.
I nodded my thanks, and Officer Fenwick excused himself, pulling a packet of cigarettes from a shirt pocket as he left the house.
I'll take you to the master bedroom.
You have to say something else.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just doing dramatic zoom. Where I don't even know where the fuck I am.
Any problems?
Any problems? Give me a yell.
When the door closed, I felt something strange. The history of the house, the sense of violence disappeared almost instantly. Like the gallery, there was a sense of warmth, and the sunlight seemed to gather in even the darkest corners of the house. The illusion only flattered for a moment when I sidestepped a patch of missing tiles. I felt it like the warmth of the house twist, spying a few short strands of brown hair sticking out of a solid concrete as though they had been driven in there with great force. I suppressed a shudder and opened the door, finding myself in a small den. Bookshelves lined each wall, and a television stood on the left-hand wall, a couch between myself and it. The staircase started in the corner immediately opposite the door and went straight up. Reaching the top, I found myself in the single hallway which circled the entire second story. To my left, the sky was beginning to turn pink and orange with the setting of the sun, and the lights of homes in the valley below Beacon House began to come on, declaring their existence among the trees for all to see. Outside, a balcony circled the entire house, but I declined to take a shortcut and backtrack, instead passing by all of the rooms on the upper level. The house was like a hotel, one central corridor backing onto rooms. A library, a gym, guest bedrooms. 1, 2, 3. A second staircase, a descent down which led me to a small room off the kitchen. I continued on, coming at the last to the office, and master ensuite and Malachi Durant's bedroom. The air up here was thick and heavy, and dust motes danced in the hazy light which came in from outside. There was a window in Durant's office that overlooked the gallery floor. I flicked the light switch and rolled up the blind, peering down to the floor below, and I was struck by a pattern on the floor below. While the obvious pattern had been enforcing the organic patterns of cracks and imperfections in the marble to flow like graceful curves like the petals of a flower, there were cuts in other pieces of the marble too, which showed up in the afternoon light. Symbols and letters of unknown origin were formed in by the hair-thin grouting between tiles. Lines where the flooring did not need lines curved around the pattern of the flower petals, and even with their missing pieces, the lettering filled me with a sense of calm and serenity like I had felt in the gallery. I frowned at this curious faculty of Durant's as I returned to the hallway to open the door to the master ensuite, and in the corner of the doorframe I caught sight of something odd. Flush with the level of the wooden door, a scoured clean of the white paint that covered the rest of the door, was a tiny circle of metal. I ran my finger over it. It lacked grooves of any kind, so it couldn't have been a screw. I checked the door frame and found a circle of the same material flush with the level of the first in the frame, and again in the doorway to the office. I checked the master bedroom door and found exactly the same scenario. So there was a ring of metal running at knee height through the entire upper floor. But why? Acting on a hunch, I licked my fingers and touched the two contacts in the bedroom doorway. Nothing. No tingle whatsoever. So if they didn't carry some kind of current, what were they there for? But then I remembered the closet. I ran back to the office and opened the doorway into the office closet. The closed was a typical closet. Sturdy shelves lined in the back half, and at the very top, just behind the light switch nestled in the cornice above the doorway, was a small manhole still covered.
Let's see what's in your secret room, Malachi.
I smiled and flipped the switch. It was as though the one light switch kept the universe in being. I had a brief sensation of falling before a heavy shove in my chest pushed me back into the office. Light had fled and the world outside had been reduced to black nothingness. The house was cast in monochrome light into which a sickly blue-gray light filtered through sharp angles and cracks. I stood and peered through the office window and screamed.
Ah!
Below the angular symbols in the floor bled the same sickly blue-gray light from which stepped figures made of nothingness. They moved through the room standing at the edge of the marble flower, while heads made of nothingness stared at me with eyes unseen. I became aware of the sudden depth in the floor, seeing an infinite abyss falling away far below. I spied a straight wispy form flowing upward from the depths like a sea serpent. It passed through the flower in the center of the room rising, a hideous serpentine form made from flesh of every color, many of them clearly inhuman. Crawling into being from the abyssal darkness far below it flowed around in the lines of force in the pattern which now visibly crackled with power. Power turned dark by the pattern in the walls of Beacon House. As I watched the writhing of its flukes grasp and clutch at nothingness in the air around it, climbing higher and higher on empty air, reaching for the apex of the roof, and it turned on me. I saw that the flukes which lined its body were arms, human and humanoid, crudely sewn into its body and weeping hideous black fluids and more of that blue-gray light. The body flared out at the head to end in a flat face covered in scales, black as night, colored white by paint, which held the shape of a humanoid woman with wings of burning sunlight. It was the only point of warmth in the entire scene around me, and I clung to it, even as twin soulless eyes of deepest purple on either side fixed themselves on me. And as it reared back its head, I felt the monster drawing in its breath, pulling my soul as it moved to strike. I screamed even louder, helpless, wanting to get free, but unable to move. Fearful that if I broke gaze with the heavenly angel on that hideous face, I would never find my way back to the world of light that I had known. But at the very last second, I dove to the side as the beast lunged forward, and I found myself in the office closet, the beast crashing through the window, showering me with glass. I reached up for the switch as the hideous face turned on me. I slapped the switch and was physically catapulted back into my simple little world, nearly hitting the ceiling and smashing back to the ground. Pain blossomed in my back, and I became aware of Officer Fenwick shouting to me.
Oh, wait, is this me?
Yep.
Shouting to me. I don't know how to do this in the fucking voice. Hunter, Hunter. It's not at all. Where are you?
I gasped once, twice, and then threw up. I screamed again and passed out.
Interesting.
So the light
So
switch.
when it comes to angel, they mean more in the literal depiction of an angel, like to where they're like fucking horrifying.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. So, pretty much what it sounded like was almost in like a, what is it? Like a hologram, in a way, or because he flipped the
I don't know.
switch. He flipped a switch, and all of a sudden,
like another kind of like
went into basically another world.
I wouldn't even say it's a hologram. Then I think it would be like maybe the place is a portal, and like going into that room and doing the thing takes you to a actual literal different dimension.
That's probably what. Do you think that's what all the magnet shit is as well, all around?
Yeah, and that's why like when they would flip the floodlights on, everybody would get scared. It's because it would like fuck with their mind, like
Teleport
literally,
you?
like being in a like different entire dimension. Yeah,
I like
some
it.
kind of deal like that.
It's actually fucking sick, to be honest.
Yeah, that's dope.
All right.
bit.
Last bit. Here we go.
A hidden explosive. That's what they called it. The doctor said I was lucky to survive given my proximity to the explosion that had torn apart the inner wall of Durant's office. Nobody questioned the lack of explosive residue, and despite taking my recommendation to take a look at the walls of Beacon House, the police reported no other evidence of explosive within the walls. The metal circles I had seen in the doorways had been passed off as simple reinforcing bars, being made out of thread bar as they were. Everything simple, everything neat and straightforward.
Sorry, I'm sure that came through the mic. I hit the shit out of my desk.
I knew better, of course. Durant's muse. I had seen Durant's muse just as he had, in all her terrifying glory, decorated with the flesh of her victims, growing stronger and stronger with every kill. I called the state's attorney the next day and handed in my diagnosis. Delusion of psychosis. I pointed to the ample evidence in the murder, adding in a hatchet job of my own about symbols and the pseudo occult?
A cult? Yeah.
Yeah, I would do a cult.
Yeah, if it looks like a cult, then it probably is. I don't even see where we are. I lost my place.
And the pseudo-occult nature of the house and its arrangement, as well as transcripts of my interviews with Durant. His ranting about being used by an angel and the 3 levels to his 2-level house. The state's attorney wasn't happy with my diagnosis, but I didn't care. After what Malachi Durant had been through, he deserved to think himself sane. Maybe given enough time, he would be able to see himself in that light and forget the reality of what he had witnessed. For me, there was no such reprieve. I had to carry the truth with me. An open door and a light switch were the only things standing between our world and hell. They tore down Beacon House the day after Malachi was declared mentally unfit. I watched it happen, and it brought me some small measure of peace, but I'm still fearful turning on any switch anywhere, because I have no way of knowing if the angles are just right, if the flow of light in space is perfect, if the signal is perfect to turn on another beacon.
Huh. Interesting.
I mean,
Okay.
to be honest, at first going into the story, I'm kind of like, "Where are we going?" When we got to the art gallery, I was like, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah, because they spent like I said before, they spent a lot of time on the building itself,
Yeah,
which was weird, and not so much about the murders. And then like obviously Malachi is supposed to be this fucking crazy guy, so like
Yeah.
the muse, you thought that he was referring to the murder, like the murder victims, but he literally meant like in like she ate them, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
like
like,
like
she
knowing
actually did.
having all the context now is crazy.
yes.
So
Especially because when I first like presented the story to you, like, here's what I think it's about. I was
Yeah.
like, it's a murderer, and some guy's interviewing him. And we're going back and forth.
Yeah.
Little did I know it'd come to
it would turn to this shit. Yeah.
there's a fucking angel, and if you if everything's in a perfect angle,
Yeah,
and
the perfect spot. Yeah.
that's very
crazy.
interesting, to be
Yeah.
honest. And it seemed like he almost it wasn't 100% complete, but it seemed like he almost had it perfectly at the museum too, which that would be fucking wild. I don't know. What'd you think of it? I thought it was a pretty good story.
Oh yeah, I thought it was great. I love that kind of like the depiction of angels in like the like literal interpretation, you know, and like the horrific way, you know, because the idea of an angel is supposed to be beyond human comprehension. So like it's dope. It's cool as hell.
I think the thing that I love the most about this story right here was we went into it blindish and we didn't know exactly, and the ending was a good ending actually, and we didn't have to go into a part 2 or nothing. They had a good description of the monster.
Whoever would have thought to turn this into part 2 is a fucking idiot.
I give it to be honest, the story was good. I give it a 9.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'll give it a 9.
Story was good, well written, very well written. I'm glad she was here because
I'm glad I got to do 3 different voices.
Yeah,
that's,
you got
a rare
to be
thing.
3 characters, brother.
3 different people.
Wow.
Hey, Cusco, I'm trying to take you to the master bedroom.
There's a lot of 50 Shades of Grey. There was a lot of 50 Shades of Grey in this fucking story.
It's very sexually intense. A lot of sexual energy.
Last thought on it, what I'm kind of getting from it is that he has an art museum, the Beacon House. He created it, and he must have kind of like had an idea to get to there. But then once he opened up that door, he kind of like couldn't control it, and it was his downfall basically.
Yeah, it was like too much, but it was very like it was whoever was like hiring him to build a house like that, presumably the angel, was using it as like a portal or like a domain. So it was like very intentional, like you know, everything that was done.
The more you talk about the story and dive deeper into it, the more the story actually becomes pretty fucking sick.
Oh yeah.
Other than that, that was Beacon House. I would say who the creator is, but it said deleted.
It says deleted. So, but the link for the story will always be in the description. You know what else is also in the description, Cooper?
What's in the description? What's in the description?
Oh, you know, just wait for my camera to catch up. Oh, you know, just the link for scissor.com where you can go buy some sick ass clothing.
Check it out.
And we do have our own merch on the way.
Yes.
Release date pending.
Exactly. If you like the way we did this episode, let us know down below. We may continue to do a little bit more sometimes here or there, or see what happens.
You know, it's not like we release an episode every single Tuesday, which is a reason for you to subscribe and destroy the fucking bell or whatever it's called.
Hit that bell like the Liberty Bell until it cracks.
Also, minimal cussing this time. We've cussed a lot less this episode.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even think we did say a cuss word at all.
No, there was a
I did.
Did you?
Said fuck.
I did.
Oh, well.
Yeah. This is the cleanest episode. We maybe had one F-bomb. This is PG-13.
We had clean reading.
Yeah.
Good characters. Good voice acting.
Thanks. I'll take it, but I don't believe you. I'll take a compliment.
All right. Like he said, every Tuesday, check us out, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.